What is up, Retro Maniacs? Welcome to Retro Card Chat Podcast. I am Mike from Mike's Retro Trading Cards. Joining me today are the two guys that put pro and professional, Joe Day and EP Erica Halleck. How are you guys?
I've been waiting for about 45 minutes to do this.
We had a little bit of trouble today. A little bit of trouble.
Yeah, just a little bit.
I'm having a great day off of work today.
I'm sure you are. Yes. I'm glad to hear that. So, Joe, I've heard you guys both have some hobby happenings going on in your little corner of the world this week. Little birdie told me you might have a Grail card that you got delivered.
Maybe. I mean, I'm probably going to do a video about it. Just throwing that out there. Yeah, you know, it's a Tom Brady rookie card. I'll leave it at that. But it's a cool card that I've been looking for a while, and a card that epitomizes the 90s. I think it's one of those cards that really, really is a 90s card. So I'm really digging it.
So if you watch the YouTube channel, make sure to look for that video. And I heard maybe Santa Claus might have brought a couple other presents there.
Well, I'm going to be Santa. I'm going to be Santa Claus for EP. Actually, my beard is a little bit gray, but I'm going to be Santa Claus for EP, and I'm going to deliver him a PSA package for his first. Is it your first ever PSA review?
First ever grading of any kind. Yep.
There we go. So
wow. He popped his grading cherry. How about that?
I got three cards coming.
We're gonna have to put explicit after that comment, but yeah,
that's what we are.
Well, I think we already are because you're drinking because of the beer. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah. You and your beer drinking
IPA.
over there. Yeah,
local IPA, baby.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, EP, how excited are you?
You know me, I always get super excited about stuff. I'm like a 6. Like I guess a 6.
Oh, wow.
It'll be cool to get it. So I'm not. The thing is, I know they're going to be bad grades, so it doesn't matter. And once they're bad grades, then I don't want to grade another card ever again. So
that's true.
That's it.
What would they have to be on average? There's 3 cards. What average would they have to be for you to be like, I'll grade again?
I mean, I think the Brady card is going to pull the grades down quite a bit. So I don't know what the average would be. But I know if the Trout is less than an 8, I will never grade again. And if the Kobe is the Kobe's less than an 8, I'll never grade again. So that's it.
Okay.
Well, you know, though, if the Trout is less than an 8, it's really your fault for not sending it in sooner because you probably damaged it. So,
oh yeah,
nobody to blame but yourself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And Joe, I heard you might have an order that came back from somewhere too.
Yeah, I have an SGC order. It's probably one of the strangest submissions that I've ever seen. Just such random, you got the staple Brady rookie, obviously, but then throwing out a Doctor Strange retro card from 2015. It looks like the 90 MU, which is awesome. But it's obviously a different picture or different drawing. And then a Peacemaker card from 1992 DC Cosmic. It's his rookie card. So I would say John Cena rookie card.
Definitely, yeah.
I actually listed a complete set of the DC Cosmic series on eBay, and I actually did put Peacemaker rookie card in the title. If you don't think I did, you're not.
Yeah. I don't blame you. I would too.
Got it. Okay. Every angle.
Well, we were grumpy old men not too long ago and talked about all our hobby gripes. So this week I thought we'd get together and actually throw out some of the things we love about the hobby. We were kind of harsh on some of the companies and some of the practices, but today we're just going to be all warm and fuzzy and kisses and hugs and all that stuff. So get it started off with you, Joe. What's number 1 on your list?
So this is actually one I kind of wanted to put in the last episode where we talked about our gripes about the hobby. But I think there's some crossover appeal with it, and that's content creators. You know, there are certain content creators which we all kind of make fun of. You know, I'm not going to put anyone on blast.
No,
You know,
no, we like them all.
we like them all. You know, like someone who talks about sports cards and investing. I mean, someone like that, maybe I'm not a huge fan of, but in general for
But
this
other people
podcast,
are, yeah, other people
other
are.
people are. And I think whether you like them or not, they have really pushed the hobby into a new direction. But before we go any further with this, I think we've talked about him almost every podcast. That's Alico 3. He's he is the standard right now for content creation. I really believe on YouTube. But for me, just seeing all these people put cards that they've collected, put cards that they're thinking about investing in, talking about sets they're building, ripping packs. There is nothing more relaxing to me than actually sitting down, throwing on someone like Alico 3 or throwing on Northeast Ohio. I know sometimes we give him some crap here and there, but throwing on some of his videos and sorting cards or posting stuff on eBay. I think the content not only has pushed the hobby forward because more people can now look at what other people are collecting, but it's also given us an opportunity to see some cards that maybe we want to take a look at buying or maybe investing in or ripping a box of.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, who doesn't like to throw on YouTube and check out some card videos? Like you can find, whatever aspect of it you're into. If you're into the investing, if you're into grading reveals, if you're into rips, case breaks, it's a lot of fun. Like whether it's on in the background or I'm actively watching it, I do it quite often. How about you, EP?
Yeah, same. One of the things I do when I'm done with work, when I'm done with all the important parts of work, and I have to shut down my computer, close all my programs, and do any sort of like backup type stuff, I always throw on YouTube and just have that playing. Like same thing as you guys. Just either somebody who just got in a big lot and is going through all these cards or the cards that they purchased at a sale, like a show, just stuff like that. And like you said, just seeing different kinds of cards and stuff like that is really pretty cool. And I agree with Joe that really it has pushed. It's really changed the hobby considerably.
And as annoying as some of them are, and we there are
like
people
us.
that are annoying. Yeah, we're annoying.
I'm sure we are. Yeah,
there are people that actually watch us, which is ridiculous. But
I know. How about that?
As annoying as some of them are, I think most of them are coming from a good place. They just want to talk about cards. They're collectors first. There's actually one guy who I watch who his intro is collector, seller, investor, something like that.
In that order. Dealer, yeah.
There it is. Yeah. Collector, investor, dealer in that order.
He's great. Fantastic.
I like that. So, and then you look at that Nolan's videos, Alico 3's videos, and he talks about what he liked to collect when the same time we did, in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
And he always puts I'm a collector first. Now, if I can sell these cards too and buy more stuff for my collection, I'll do that. And just his videos are great too. So yeah, I think it's definitely pushed the hobby forward, and it gives us all something to watch when we're going through 1,000 count boxes looking for gems.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's why we connect with Alico, because at least for me, I'm the same way where like I have a massive collection. I have cards I'm going to keep, but I'm also selling cards so I can get more cards that I want. Like that's my philosophy too.
In the era of a lot of the cards that he gets graded, it's right in our wheelhouse. So obviously, I think that's why we're a little more drawn to him. Plus, I like reveal videos, grading reveal videos. They're a lot of fun. They're our most popular videos on our channel too. So it must be pretty much industry wide. But yeah, I mean, big fan of that. So what's on top of your list there, EP?
Card accessibility and availability. We have this global marketplace, eBay. Their card shops are awesome. I love going to card shops and card shows, but I mean, you can go on eBay and find anything. And then also like the availability, like the variety of cards available now too. Like if you,
Mhm.
I've seen a lot of people on social media who say, "Oh, I'm out of this. The boxes are too expensive. I'm getting out of this business." And I'm like, if you can't find something to collect, whether it's vintage or junk wax era or new stuff or inserts or parallels or whatever, like you're just not trying very hard. Like you're probably in it just to try to flip cards.
Yeah, I agree. Uh, I mean, anything you're interested in, you can find cards for almost anymore.
Mhm.
And, you know, like that's part of the fun. We talked about that on the non-sport podcast is, you have options out there to collect what you like. And you don't have to worry about the monetary end of it. If boxes are $500 or $1,000, you don't have to buy those. You can buy single cards out of it. If you collect certain players, a lot of ways you can do it. And like just, you know, the availability, like you go on eBay or you go on, one of the other marketplaces and you find the cards you need. Like it, there's no lack of cards anymore. You can find what you need, and that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, when we first started collecting, we went to a shop in Danville. There was a shop across the street. There was there was a shop, a few miles down the road, but pretty much whatever you wanted to get, it had to almost be in that circle. And maybe
Hmm.
a show comes around at the local mall. Now, if I need Mike, you were collecting that Zenith set from Pinnacle from the mid 90s. What are the
Hmm.
odds in the pre-eBay era that you were able to complete that set?
Yeah, I
So
never would have.
we now have that ability to go out and get what we need, to complete sets, but get what we want. Um, and like you guys said, there is so much you can get out there. The people that are freaking out about WWE Prism, right? Well, go buy WWE Topps Finest,
Hmm.
or is it Finest or is it Chrome? What do
Yeah,
they call it? It's
finest.
Finest. Yeah, go
Well,
out and
they
get.
have both. They
They
have
have
both.
both.
Yeah.
You can go and get a Topps product for much cheaper, and you can rip that if you want to, or like you've been doing, Mike, going out and getting singles of you collect Paul Heyman, right? So you can go out
Hmm.
and do that. There are no limit to options for you to get involved in the hobby, and the internet breaks all those things have really made it very accessible.
Hmm. And that transitions into my number one is actually one of the things I love about the hobby is PC collecting. Like I I enjoy it myself. You don't have to always collect stars. You can if you want to, but like you mentioned, I collect Paul Heyman. It's really cool going back trying to find his older cards. It's not costing me a ton of money, but I'm having a lot of fun doing it. And one of the other side of that too is like I don't know how you guys feel. I'm sure you feel the same way, but it must be the old card shop owner in me. But like I love getting cards to people of players they collect. I
Mhm.
give away a lot of cards on Twitter. I give people deals on Twitter because they collect a certain player. I have a guy who I believe his dad collects Antoine Walker. He was a basketball player for the Celtics, and I've twice sent him piles of cards of Antoine Walker because it's cool that I can make him happy. I can give him these cards that I'm not going to worry about selling them. They might be worth a little bit, but like it's not about the money. It's about
Mhm.
making somebody happy. And those connections that you make with people and stuff because they collect a certain player, you can help them out, or you collect somebody and helps out. I'm kind of morphing into like a relationship thing that you build, but like, it all starts with that specific collection that you or somebody else might have.
Yeah,
I usually,
I
I usually,
it's
Anybody.
I usually wait for EP.
no, I'll go ahead. No, I mean PC collecting is. I mean that's where it's at right now, especially with the prices of wax boxes. Like this, I kind of feel like that's where you have to be. And yeah, I love that too. I have a couple guys. Obviously I'm a Ken Griffey Jr. fan, a Barry Sanders fan, but also like who doesn't like Ron Gant and players from like the '90s, like just like weird guys that no chance of getting in the Hall of Fame, but they were great players during their day.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's great. Yeah. And I also remember walking into the shop, Mike, and you handing me cards, and it's going to your house, just a couple months ago, and you handing me cards, and that's just that's cool.
And you handing me cards. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
Yes.
fun
Yeah.
part about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, and we've talked about this before, and we actually put the first video up. Depending on when you're listening to this, the second one might be up of some of my PC stuff. I go from penny cards to $3,000 Tom Brady cards, right? But whatever is good for you is good for you. I mean, I was going
Mhm.
through my old collection, and I'm pulling decent couple dollar value cards just to sell potentially, but I'm also pulling quarter cards of Bert Emanuel, Jeff Blake, Wesley Walls, all these guys that I associate with for my collection because of fantasy football. I pulled all those cards out. EP and Mike have given me Wesley Walls cards and Bert Emanuel and Jeff Blake's. Mike hasn't given me any Bert Emanuel cards yet, but I think he
I
burns them
burned
all
them. Yeah, I did.
after Bert beat him in a fantasy football championship in the mid
Mhm.
90s. But you're right. I mean, you can PC anything you really want to PC, and there's no right way to collect. There's no wrong way to collect. You just collect what you like. And if you only want to spend $50 a month on cards, or you want to spend $50 a day on cards, that's up to you. I mean, you do what you want to do, and there's no hard and fast rules for it.
Definitely. Okay, so number 2 on your list, Joe.
So for me, it kind of leads into the buying and selling aspect, which kind of ties into what you were talking a little bit about, Mike. I enjoy posting stuff on eBay. I find that enjoyable, and I think we would be disingenuous if we didn't talk about the monetary part of the hobby, because it's the biggest part of it. I mean,
Oh
you
yeah,
can
definitely.
collect what you want to collect, but things cost money.
Mhm.
And now we talked about this. I forget if it was on the last pod about the 3 things we don't like about the hobby, but you don't have to suck every penny out of someone when you sell
Mhm.
something on eBay. But I think I just find it really enjoyable being able to post stuff, kind of going back and see how many people viewed it or put it in their watch list. And then when something sells, packaging it up, making sure it's nicely packaged. There's just something cathartic about that. Something I just really enjoy doing, and making sure the card gets shipped, and then kind of going back and checking my feedback and seeing how, if they liked it, and then getting a repeat customer, I think is really cool. Building that relationship through some sales and cutting deals with people. But the buying and selling aspect, which, I don't want it to sound like we're money hungry by any stretch, but that is a major component. There isn't cards if they don't cost and aren't valued. So
Mhm. Yeah.
I think that whole aspect of it, I really enjoy. And the buying aspect, going on eBay, putting
Mhm.
something in your watch list and ticking down, and you're like, oh shit, I can get this in 3 minutes for,
Yep.
the card I just got, the Brady Grail card I just got. I was watching it. I'm like, this guy has really low feedback. I think I might be able to get this for a deal. And I put in my max bid and it wins. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Like
It's a
those
rush.
things.
Yeah, it's a real
It's an
rush.
absolute rush.
Yeah.
Which if you have no self-control can be an issue.
Yes, very much.
But
Uh,
if you know your limits, it's almost like gambling. If you know your limits, sure, go to the blackjack table. But if you know your limits, and you can go out and find some cool deals. And I know EP puts a ton of stuff in his eBay watch list, and you might not be buying them, EP, but you want to see what they go for. You want to kind of have an idea of what the sale was.
I actually bid on all of them. But they're all like $3 bids on cards that are probably going to sell for $50. But I've won a handful of cards, doing that like at really really good prices because I see what they go for. I bid on usually I'll bid on a bunch of the ones that are like kind of like the same kind of card, and just kind of
mhm.
watch them and see how they go. And then and if I see one that I think is going to go for a really low price, I end up getting that. I have a mail day that I'm going to do for the channel with a bunch of cards that I won that I didn't think I was going to win at the prices I won them at.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, to your point, Joe, with the buying and selling, I talked about this on one of my other audio podcasts, collecting cardboard through work. like my job, I spend a lot of
Shameless
time reading.
plug.
Yeah, right.
Listen, I plugged ours on that
It's all
podcast last
good.
week. So
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
yeah,
Some
yeah.
synergy.
I'm
Some
a, I'm a,
synergy.
Yep,
I'm a
yep.
devout listener of that. So yeah.
But anyhow, I said about how my job, I spend a lot of time reading words and making sure the words all make sense as a sentence, then make sure they're all spelled correctly. Then I got to write headlines, summarize that story in 6 words. My brain just goes through a lot. So for me to list cards, look up cards, and sell cards, and then ship cards, it's kind of like a cathartic, like just kind of a, you can just get into a rhythm, and it's a very enjoyable thing to do.
Yeah. It's your escape.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
a good way to
Yeah.
put it.
And, the selling part of it too, there are a lot of people. I know I do it. I'm sure you guys too. You sell because you're going to take that money and buy something else. Like a lot of people that are selling cards. I mean, yeah, there are people that do it for a living. There are people that do it to make money, but there are a lot of people out there too that sell them so they can buy something else. And that's cool. You're trading in your old stuff and getting something new. I love that part of it.
I mentioned this when we all got together over Easter that, I sold like a handful of 1993 Marvel cards. It was like $10 worth of cards. And at the same day, I had gotten in a raw Brady metal rookie card. And I jokingly said, well, I have to sell about 100 of these to afford this, but eventually I'll be able to kind of balance it out. But that's why I do it. I enjoy being able to package that stuff up, sell it, and then buy something for my PC, which ties into what you were saying before, Mike.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, EP, you're number 2.
The new, like the global social community, which kind of like hits on some of the stuff we were talking about with the people on YouTube, the content creators. But I really love that you can go on Twitter and you can see, like, there's somebody that I follow. I think Mike, you might follow him too, Paul O'Neill Collector, who just
Oh yeah.
posts random Paul O'Neill cards. He's a former Yankee, so I'm a Yankees fan. So just to see people's random cards, and once people get a really, really good pull, it's cool to see when people post like Joe did today. His mail day is stack of boxes and envelopes and stuff. Like, just I love to see that stuff and be happy for people. It gives me a little shot of happy juice to see that stuff. So
I'm gonna take a shot of my happy juice.
Yeah, but yeah, like, and I love it too when it's people that have similar interests to us, like from those eras. I mean, my card shop was open from 1991 to 2004. That's where the bulk of my knowledge of cards are from until recently. And I love it when I see like Paul O'Neill Collector, some of those cards, like I remember those. It's like, oh, cool. Like, yep. I used to love to see, like, for me, having owned a shop, it was like when somebody made a great pull in my shop. And like getting that picture of it on Twitter is kind of that same thing for me. Like it sounds a little corny, but I'm legitimately happy for people. I loved it when a good customer would come in my shop and pull out a card that made them happy. That's what that's all about. And like, I feel the same way when I see people doing it on Twitter.
And you were talking about the global community, Twitter, YouTube, we have so many options now to look at cards. We have so many options to, I'll just sit there and scroll. It's almost, when Wikipedia first became a thing and you could get down a rabbit hole, right? I kind of feel that about card Twitter. I'll see card purchaser retweet something and I'll look, oh, that's that person who tweeted that's a pretty cool card, and then I'll click on theirs and I'm like, oh, look at their collection. And then someone commented that had a Marvel card that I thought was cool, so I'll click on there and I'll just a constant rabbit hole of stuff. And for the most part, card Twitter, and one of my alternate topics was card Twitter drama was one of my favorites, because I will admit I do enjoy some drama, but for the most part, card Twitter is some fun people, cool people who just want to talk about cards, which is what we love to do. So, there's never any really, for the most part, there's not much malice of forethought in what people are saying on card Twitter. They're just sharing their cards and enjoying looking at other people's cards.
And you can block or mute those people that that are
Exactly.
an issue.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's what I was gonna say.
amazing.
If you curate your list of people you follow,
Yeah.
like I mean, it's just not worth it to see that stuff. If somebody who gets into constant drama does stuff you don't really agree with, just block
Yeah.
them, move on. I mean, you can make that your own little happy place, and after a while, pretty much everybody you're in your timeline is just sharing stuff that you like, and it makes you happy.
And it's for the most part, it's void of politics. It's void of, all
Mhm.
that religion. It's all those social issues that people want to talk about constantly and just barrage you with. It's nice to kind of escape that and just talk about, oh, what's your coolest looking card with shine to it? Like
Yeah.
cool. I can get down for that instead of talking
Yeah.
about the Ukraine issue or whatever.
Yes,
Right.
We
definitely.
can move on. We can move on to something cool.
Yep. Okay, my number two. I'm going to surprise you guys. I bet a little bit with this one. I I really enjoy the all of the autographs and the availability of autographs in the hobby now. Like I said, in the '90s, autographs were not easy to pull out of a pack of cards. So, I mean, yes, there are more of them out there. They're not worth as much. But again, going back to the PC thing, it gives people more of an opportunity to get something they may have never had. And along with not only pulling a card out of a pack that's already autographed, you can also do signings. There are a lot of virtual signings where you can send your own stuff
Mhm.
in. I know Hulk Hogan actually does signings in his beach shop down in Florida. So I know some guys have sent in like really cool rare cards that Hogan, they pay for it, obviously, yeah, but like he signed, and like he's taken a picture of himself with the card,
Mhm.
and I just think all that is
That's cool.
really cool. It's not something that we had in the '90s or early 2000s. Yeah, you can go to a card show and get a signing, but like there's just so many more ways to do it, and it's more accessible to a lot more people.
Yeah, I saw the Hogan thing. That's awesome. I mean,
That is really cool. Yeah.
you can connect to someone that you have idolized in some way, whether it's an
Mhm.
athlete, or someone like Hulk Hogan, who just is, when I was a kid, the coolest guy in the world. But in terms of just the availability of autographs, you're right. I mean, we would open up a box of cards and maybe get one, and it was some
Maybe,
random
yeah.
some random rookie you never heard of. There are options for you to go out and get autographs. I'll tell you what, the coolest option I've seen to go out and get autographs is be an NFL player. Um, if you guys haven't followed that story, I know I sent it to you guys, but if the viewers haven't followed that story, AJ Dillon posted a bunch of cards that he had autographed, I guess on the field. I don't know where he was hiding the cards, but he would like go on the field and ask players to sign these cards, and then he would send them to get authenticated, which is hysterical. So he just turned a regular rookie card into an autograph card. I thought that was funny, but
I can't wait to see him get tackled by a guy and pull a card out of his pants and go, "Here,
oh,
sign
thanks, man.
it."
Well, no, that guy's a defensive player. He probably doesn't have any cards.
That's true. Yeah, yeah.
Can you imagine if AJ Dillon ever makes it to the Pro Bowl?
Oh
He
wow,
has a
yeah.
pack of cards. But
He'll be
you're right,
set.
Mike. You're right, Mike. I mean, I'm planning on buying some Kenny Pickett autographs. He's one of my favorite Pitt players, and when his stuff comes out, he's going to have a ton of autographs. We talked about it on the three things we don't like video, the sticker autograph part of it. I prefer on card if I can get it. But yeah, just being able to go out and find something. That was the first card I sold that an autograph card of Charlton Heston that I randomly had, and got a Christian McCaffrey autograph card that's sitting on my display. But autographs are definitely just such a big part of the market right now.
Mhm.
I feel like even if you're open in retail and you pull an autograph of anybody out of retail, like you're like, oh, this is cool. Like it just feels like it's a cool
Mhm.
feeling. It's something special, something cool. And like even back when I got into it a little bit in 2012, even then, like getting something like that in retail was still impossible. could get it in hobby, but I mean, but it's still just always this like cool thing to get. I don't have a ton of autos of like I have like a one Griffey on card auto, one Donovan McNabb on card auto. I don't have a ton of autos like that, but I know, back to your point, Mike, from back in the 90s, there was one card that is kind of, I think I said at one point on one of these that I don't really have a Grail card, but there was one card back in, like, I think it was 1990 Upper Deck. There was a Reggie Jackson Chase series, and there was like an art card, but only 1,500 of them made, but they were, some of them, 1,500 autographs. And I have the art card, but I do not have the auto. And that is still that is a card that now as an adult, I'm like, you know what, I should track that down and see if I can get one of those. I think
definitely.
I think they're still pretty expensive, but I mean, like, there's something special about having an autograph. Even sticker autographs are not as cool because they didn't actually hold the card. But I mean, this is it's like a little piece of these I don't want to call them heroes, but these athletes that we follow and enjoy watching, play their sports.
The one Grail card that I have on my list, which is I'm hoping when we go to the National, I'll run into it, is the Brady Crown Royal auto card. I mean, if I'm going to buy a Brady auto, it's going to be his rookie card from 2000, and it's going to be the Crown die cut. I mean, that is such a cool card. But those were so tough to come by. I think there were one per box back then. So the odds of getting Brady were astronomical. Where now you probably have a much easier opportunity to pull a Brady auto out of something today than you did back then. But yeah, autographs, they're just such a cool part of the hobby.
Definitely. Okay, Joe, your number 3.
My number 3 is nostalgia. I mean, I can't think of anything better in the hobby than the nostalgia of it. I mean, Mike, you had the shop and you worked with your dad, and EP, you started collecting because of you and your dad would collect baseball cards. And I started collecting because I would come into the shop and meet friends that I've now have had since 1991, 1992. There's just something about that nostalgia of going through cards and remembering back to when I was 10, 12 years old. And I could only afford a few packs and ripping those open and getting excited when I got a hologram or a character that I really wanted. So it's, for me, it's quick and simple. The nostalgia of collecting has definitely, and I was trying to think why I didn't collect during that period after the card shop closed. And I think it probably was because it almost felt like cheating on the card shop a little bit. Like if I would go out and buy boxes of cards and it'd be like, well, I got these from Mike. So it's kind of weird to do that now. So, but now since we're talking about cards together as a group, whether it's, on text or now we do this podcast, just talking about cards is bringing that nostalgia. It's almost like, okay, it's okay now. I can go out and buy some cards, but just the nostalgia for me is it's probably my top one, but for dramatic effect, we put it number 3.
Save the best for last,
right?
EP.
I mean, I think nostalgia is what drives the entire hobby. Like it fuels it 100%.
Yeah, definitely.
There's just no other way to put it. That's why if you're not into collect, if you're into like flip and stuff, then sure. But if you're collecting like, just what you end up doing when you end up getting into a sport like football or like baseball, and then you collect your favorite players at the time, but then you look back and you can see the players from the past, and you can really respect them, and then you start thinking about getting their cards and stuff, and like that's what that's a great one. Like, I love it.
Yeah,
nostalgia
and
is huge.
It's really cool too that like a lot of the guys from the time when the card shop was open are still really popular. Ken Griffey Jr. Like, honestly, the card shop closed in the end of 2004, and like Ken Griffey Jr. was really kind of out of the hobby then. Like, people, he had peaked and he was on his decline. He changed teams, so like people started to not care about him anymore. And now to come back and see he's so popular, and guys like Frank Thomas, who the same thing happened with him, and like Bo Jackson, like I think it's really cool. Like those nostalgic players are remembered and collected, by the kids that couldn't get the cards back then, and now they're buying them now, and it's a revival, and that really makes it cool. That it is the nostalgia, like that's really what all of collecting's about, pretty much. And you go through a box of cards that you had laying around, and you're not just looking at what's there. Like you're kind of remembering when you got them. You're kind of remembering going to the shop you got them at, like the good times we had and stuff like that. And that's really what makes collecting fun and why people collect, I think.
Speaking of that, I'm sitting there and I'm going through bricks. Literal bricks of 1999 Upper Deck. I don't know what they put in 1999 cards to make a brick as bad as they did. Regardless, I'm sitting there going, I remember sitting there opening up boxes and boxes of these at the shop. And I'm like, why in the world did I buy so much Upper Deck? Was that the first thing that came out? What am I doing? I have a lot of 1999 Donruss of all things. Was this the first set that came out that year? I'm very confused on why I have so much, but
Might have
you're
been,
right.
yeah.
It makes you go back and like, oh man, I remember just sitting at the, standing at the case, ripping these boxes open, probably cost $30 for the box, ripping these boxes open and pulling out the rookies. And it's funny as I look through these boxes, I have them base cards, inserts and rookies. They're all kind of separated because that's how I did it back then. So it kind of just jogs your memory over the great times, whether it was at, your shop or it was, someone's, dad took them to a card show or something like that. People really, that nostalgia really drives it.
Just one last thing. Those cards, the Upper Decks and the Fleer Ultras, they kind of stuck a little bit back then, didn't they? Didn't some of them like they were a little sticky?
A little bit, yeah. They did.
We should have probably known it was coming, but I mean, it was...
nobody knew how bad though. Wow, like, whew. Yeah, Upper Deck is really bad with the bricking too. There were a couple year span there. Yeah, and the Encore stuff's bad too.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's another set that I was kind of shocked that I had so much of. I had a lot of Upper Deck Encore, and I'm like, I don't even remember liking Encore that much. I had a little bit of money back then. I'm like, I'm gonna buy everything. And I can hear Mike's dogs.
Dogs bark, man. Let them bark. We're good. Look at your logo.
Yeah,
I knew it was gonna happen. So, all right, EP, what's your number 3?
Prospect products like Bowman and the new, like I think we could probably do a whole episode on the name, image, likeness thing that just went through with college stuff. But I really think like Bowman and these I think actually a Bowman football is going to be coming out with college football players as well. But to be able to, like, back in my day, saying that kind of stuff again, but back in the day, like Bowman didn't have that kind of stuff. But now you can get prospects, like 19-year-old prospects that are just drafted, like they're 3 years away from having any sort of relevance in the hobby. But you can go there and you can like prospect on that, and I love that, and I really think it's going to be cool to see what they do with the football and basketball cards as well.
So I'm actually going to slightly disagree with the EP. They did do that a little bit back in the day with Bowman. Bowman was always kind of the set, especially for football, where they threw every rookie that came out, they threw them into those sets. And that was what was so cool about them. That's why Tom Brady, I mean, sets like that, they were prospecting and if you think about it, back then they had such big checklists. So they had to fill it out somehow. And, the Bowman set was always so cool because they had every single rookie. So to your point, I'm really excited when Fanatics and Topps start doing football again, because I think they're going to do a lot of really, really cool stuff with players that we might not normally be able to get in a National Treasure set or Prism Optic or whatever set. I think they'll do kind of that first Bowman type of thing that normally you wouldn't see as much, that you can now in a couple of years when Topps does take over or get back into it, you're going to be able to see them.
Yeah, Tony Romo is another one too. He's
Yeah.
in what 2003 Bowman,
Yeah, I think
something
you're right.
like that. Which oddly, I didn't find any of his cards, so a little weird. He wasn't in much though, but yeah, like to your point, Bowman had quite an extended list of rookies in it. So, I do a little bit of it too. Oh, go ahead, EP.
I was going to say the difference is that with baseball, these are like 19-year-old kids that are 3 years away from having any chance to be majors.
Right.
Whereas football, like these are kids, these are players that are drafted that are going to be on the NFL team that year.
Yeah.
Well, potentially. Not always.
Well, yeah, that's true. That is true.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely goes a lot deeper in baseball, and if that's something that you're into, you really need to know your stuff. Like, I couldn't. I mean, I'm not a big baseball fan. I like baseball, the sport, but I just don't really follow stuff closely enough to know. So, I know a lot of people do though, and like they know all those prospects and can tell you what they hit and what level they're at and all that stuff, which is really cool. And what I was going to say is, with the release of Prism WWE, they have a lot of younger wrestlers in that too. So, like, since I collect that, there's a little bit of that starting to go on for like the first time, because people never really thought too much about rookie cards when it came to wrestling. I mean, it's wrestling, so you don't have a rookie, but yeah, they have quite a few cards, first cards, rookie cards, whatever you want to call them, of people who aren't even up on the main roster yet. So that's kind of fun, like looking at some of those and maybe picking up some of the lower numbered or autographs of some of those and sitting on them for a couple of years and seeing where it goes.
Yeah, Bowman, first Bowman, right? I'm guessing they'll do something similar in well, I guess they can't really do it in football because, like you said, they're pretty much drafted unless they turn it into a college product, right? Where
I think they are. I think there's one
with the image and likeness, right? When they can do that, so that's going to be a cool set for sure.
Now, could they do a football set now with the new rules like they do the baseball? That would just be all.
I'm pretty sure there's a football one coming out. Like there's a football one that there's.
Yeah, I know they were doing like individual Topps Now cards of them, but I wasn't sure if they're going to do a set. So that they didn't they just release a basketball set too, like that?
Oh, they might have, yeah.
With like non-NBA players in it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Maybe that's the one I was thinking of. Maybe I was thinking of basketball. Maybe that's.
But they definitely are doing a football one as well. So
cool.
So that's
all right.
Yeah.
All right, my last one. I've kind of alluded to some of this stuff, but I like racks, random acts of kindness and like the giveaways and stuff they do on social media. I think that's really cool. Like multifaceted, you can use giveaways to help build a following, to help make connections with some other collectors. And, I've never received a card just randomly from anybody, but I've sent quite a few out. And honestly, I enjoy that more. Like going back to my original point, like, just closing the circle here. It's like, I like to make people happy. I like when people are happy with getting a card. And, if I can give them something that I have laying around and they can get happiness out of it, I just enjoy that.
Yeah, so one of the cards that I'm going to do a reveal video on, I sent to SGC, was that Doctor Strange Fleer Retro card that I told you guys about. That was a $20-something card that someone just sent to me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I put on card Twitter. I said, hey, does anyone have this card? I saw on eBay someone has it overpriced. Does anyone have this? I'd buy it. And this guy messages me. He's like, oh, I have that one. I have pretty much the whole set. Here, what's your address? I'll send it to you. And I'm like, oh, cool. And he sent it bubble mailer with tracking and everything, which cost him like $5. So, and then I turned around and said, well, who do you collect? I'm going to be pulling all these cards. Do you like anyone from the 90s that I can pull some cards for? He's like, I'm actually a huge Packers fan. I like Robert Brooks and Antonio Freeman. I'm like, handled. And I've been pulling as I'm
Right
going
up
through
your
these
alley.
things. So yeah, right up. That's right in my lane, right? So I'm pulling all these Antonio Freeman and Robert Brooks cards, which Robert Brooks does not have as many cards as you would think, considering what a good fantasy player he was for a couple of
Yeah.
years. But I've been pulling these cards aside for this guy, and I'm going to get him a nice, probably a 200 count box, and just send them to him. And
Wow.
you know, just kind of building that relationship of other people who just are into the hobby for the fun of it, aren't trying to
Mhm.
make a buck, and they can just, oh, I have these cards. I don't want these cards. I want someone who likes them to have them. That's it. That's a really cool aspect of it.
I have not sent or received any random acts of kindness cards, but I have
What's your
enough
address,
cards that
EP? Put your address up there. People, the
I have-
viewers, please.
I have enough cards that I'm definitely going to do some of those. I mean, I have to just to get rid of some of them. But I know just talking to my buddy Rob Ingalls, who you guys know on Twitter. He's the guy I did the other podcast with. He actually he's received a number of his cards for his like 1971 top set as random act
Yeah, I
of
saw
kindness
that.
cards.
Yeah.
Like it's
Mhm.
crazy the number of cards he's received from that, and that's not a cheap set to get, and it's really cool. And going back to my second topic with the social media, when you see something, a random act of kindness, again, you get that little happy juice, like a little endorphin push
Mhm.
on those. It's really, again, the hobby right now, if you mute and block the right kind of people, you see a lot of really awesome stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you really do.
and one more point, because you made this point as well, Mike. It's not just the, you know, to do something that someone would enjoy and you enjoy giving someone. You can also build a following if you want to for other things. We talked about this morning. I was texting with you guys about how I want to handle, you know, this collection that I had for 20 years at my grandparents' house. And the one thing I want to do is start doing random act of kindness, kind of, hey, tell me what players you collect, send me stars from the 90s that you're into. You know, if you're a,
Mhm.
you know, Eddie George fan, if you're a Shannon Sharp fan, whatever, let me know. And I'll pick out a handful of them. Make sure you follow me. I'm going to be doing a stack sale here in the next few months. You know, keep an eye out for the stuff I'm actually going to sell. And it can help you, you know, kind of, again, you know, closing the circle on the buying and selling aspect. Doing some of those random act of kindness, you're starting to build relationships with people. And then when you put cards up for 50 cents, $1, $2, they might come back and say, hey, that's the guy who gave me free cards. I'm going to see if he has anything that I'd be willing to pay for. And you kind of make a customer base that way.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, uh, I do it. I've done it. I've helped build up my following, and make people happy. You get a benefit, they get a benefit. It's a win-win.
Absolutely.
All right, boys. I actually really enjoyed this podcast today. We were grumpy last time, but I think we were all lovey-lovey this time. But I actually enjoyed it. This was a lot of fun. So
It's
good chat, boys.
It is. It's easier to complain about things than be happy about things, but I think we found a few things in the hobby that we're all happy about for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's fun, and you get out of it what you want to. So if you have a good attitude, you want to have fun with it, you can have fun.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right, boys. Good chat, and we'll talk next week.